Generations of family affect more than we realize. The past has a purpose. Let me say that again. I know it sounds basic or cliche, but your past does have a purpose. When you learn something about your family or the story behind an event, it changes your perspective, whether that means for bad or good. The cliche saying is knowledge is power, but it depends on how you use that knowledge. So knowledge can be anything. That can be street smarts, that can be book knowledge, that can be biblical knowledge, that could be insight. Knowledge is power. So you're allowing the situation that you're learning this new information about, it determines what power it holds in your life. My mother was a difficult parent. She struggled very much with some of the biggest parts of being a mother. She had me when she was 40 years old, and being a mother late in life, just had a lot of challenges that she faced. Then things transpired, and it came out that my mother developed schizophrenia due to a lot of the traumatic events that happened in her life and in our life. The moment of understanding that she developed a mental illness, we didn't find out my mother had mental illness until about 10 months before she passed away. And it changed the perspective of looking at why my mother did the things that she did and why some of the things that happened in my life happened the way that they did. It changed how I viewed my mother. Not just as my mother, but it changed how I viewed her. When we make our plans, but God's purpose prevails. That verse seems weird here in the Bible, right? But think about that for a moment. God's purpose prevails despite whatever plans we make. Even if those plans are good, God has a plan. That plan is bigger because he can see the whole picture. Free will is freedom that we don't deserve, but we have it. What a gift that is. I mean, if you really think about that, we don't actually deserve free will. We don't. We don't deserve anything. Like in my last video, we talked about you're entitled to nothing. Everything is a gift. It's all about how we use that. You can use any gift that you have for a negative purpose. You 1000% can. If you let the devil in there, he can totally use that. But if you let God in there, imagine what he can do with that, how he's going to use that. Fun fact, talking about generational sin, which is what we're basically talking about today, in Exodus 34:7, I'm going to read that out of the NLT. I show this unfailing love to many thousands by forgiving every kind of sin and rebellion. Even so, I do not leave sin unpunished, but I punish the children for the sins of their parents and to the third and fourth generations. Now, I know that's a kind of a downer verse, but if you think about that, the sin of your ancestors does trail down. But we'll get into about that. God turns mistakes and shortfalls into something used for the future. It could even just be a lesson to not repeat that action or pattern. Now, with generational sin, this gets kind of sticky because you're listening to it and you're going, but what about Jesus? Doesn't Jesus break that? Yes, he does. But there's a lot that goes before that happens. Generational sin is real and it's impactful. That's why it's called generational sin. The choices made by the elders around you affect the way you view the world. That's where you develop your mindset. They talk about the most fundamental stages are from birth till about 5 to 6 years old. You're developing how you view the world, what you think of the world, how you view your parents, how you view adults, authority, all of it. That's when you're developing how you even view your sight range. God gave you the family you have with a purpose in mind. Now that's kind of painful for some people, especially if you come from abuse situations or traumatic situations. I myself, with my own family, No family is perfect. And for a while, it was very difficult to understand why I had the mother I had, because she really wasn't a mother. But I'm so thankful today that my mother was the woman that she was, because it made me who I am. Yes, even pain and difficult things with family, God chose that with a purpose in mind. Remember, God does not intend for a broken world, but God, still intentional in a broken world. Let me say that again. God did not intend for a broken world, but he's still intentional in a broken world. We live in a broken world. God is still functioning past the garden. He's still here. He could have easily left. He could have easily said, you know what? I messed up. My bad. Let's flood the earth again. But God realized after he flooded the earth, he made a covenant with Noah. I'm never going to flood the earth again. I will not destroy my people again. Not that God makes mistakes, but God makes promises. That word intend is a verb. You have conscious action, even in the thought of intention. That's a conscious action to have a thought about intention. That word actually means to plan a course in life for action. In generations, people can plan a course of life to best suit their children. Yet sin, and a fallen world gets in the way. We don't intentionally plan to have a difficult life for our children. We don't. We don't wake up one day and go, I want to make my kid's life so hard. I don't think that's what we want. I don't think we want to go on and cause struggle for the next generations. People's selfish ideals, poor decisions, making the game change. That's really what it is. It's continual poor decision making. It's continual selfish ambition. Yet God. If we choose Jesus, he makes the messes of our life blessings in our life. Messes to blessing. It's an interesting dynamic with God. This phrase is interchangeable. With blessing comes a course of action. If you understand the blessing, you can do the action. If you understand the gift, you can use it well. The choice is yours. My favorite verse in the Bible is sorrow is better than laughter, for sorrow has a refining influence on us. Because it rings so true in the world. The most beautiful things come from the most painful, ashy places. Look at Job. Job was covered in ashes so much of his life, and look what the joy he reaped from the ashes. He was blessed for his commitment to God. So was Abraham. Abraham was not blessed because of his actions. He was blessed because of his righteous faith. He was called righteous because of his faith, because he believed God would do what he said. And he followed God despite his own selfish ambition. When God called him, he answered him. Job 42, 12 through 17 talks about how Job was blessed when he responded to God in everything. At the end of his life, he was blessed more over than he was in the first part of his life. The beginning of this section in verse 10 says, once Job prayed for his friends. We need to seek God in prayer and petition. When you pray for your family, when you pray for the people of your life, you are battling in the war room. You are coming up against the enemy going, you will not have any more hold on this. I give this to God. Generational curses / sin, they're called both in the Bible, is something that only can be overcome with Jesus. Generational curses is only something that can be overcome with Jesus. We need the strength to make a course correction. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Joy is a state, not a feeling. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But the joy is a state of being. You can still have joy in a trial. And when you're making a course correction, you can still be joyful in it. The belief system that we develop, whether it be from our ancestors or ourselves in our own decisions, affects more than we realize. This is a fundamental foundation for the next generation underneath us. Whether we have children or you influence somebody else's children, you have purpose. You're an influencer. That's going to be something coming up. Sneak peek. You are an influencer. Your influence affects other people. Your coworkers, your family, your friends' kids, strangers you see on the street. People watch you. What you believe transcends through you. You can sense if somebody's a believer. You can sense if somebody's not a believer. And that goes down through anything that we're talking about. It's a responsibility we have, not just biblically, but in the secular world. That matters. What you do matters. No one wakes up every one day and says, hey, I'm going to mess my kids up today. That's my end goal. That's just, we don't think like that. People don't think like that. I mean, unless you're like a psychopath or something, but we actually don't think like that. No one decides to destroy the good. It's not what we want to do. We don't gravitate towards that. Let's make a choice to do something that's going to negatively impact me. Because let's be honest, we naturally are all out for ourselves. Naturally, in some capacity. But we don't want to negatively affect ourselves. When you turn that course and you follow Jesus, then you see outside the box. You see other people. You put people before yourself and you realize, I don't want to do that. I want to do something good. I want to have a good impact. Exodus 20:5-6. Yes, the verse talks about generations being affected to the third and fourth generation. It's actually the first commandment in the 10 commandments. Let me read it to you. It talks about in Exodus 20 about what God said to Moses up on the hill. And it says, do not make idols of any kind, whether in the shape of birds, animals, or fish. You must never worship or bow down to them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, who will not share your affection with any other God. I do not leave unpunished the sins of those who hate me. God uses that word hate. But I punish the children for their sins of their parents to the third and fourth generations. But I lavish my love on those who love me and obey the commands for the thousands of generations. Now that word hate means not to follow after. That's what that's in place of. Those who deny God, who walk away from God, who say that God isn't real, I don't believe in him, denying him. That is the punishment, because you're continuing a cycle of sin. Doesn't mean we're not sinners when we're believers, but that means we're actively sinning out from the under the umbrella of God. But he lavishes his love on the thousands of generations after who seek him. There is a promise after a command. I love that. When God is sought out, the good is brought out. Galatians 3:13 says, Christ took the curse upon himself. I'll read the actual verse to you. I'm reading out of the Passion Translation. It says, yet Christ paid the full price to set us free from the curse of the law. Now, all these verses about generational sin are actually in the Old Testament law. He absorbed the curse completely, because he became the curse in our place. For it is written, everyone who hung upon a tree is cursed. Jesus Christ dissolved the curse from our lives, and so that in him all the blessings of Abraham can be poured out upon the Gentiles. Think about that. And now through faith, we receive the promise, the Holy Spirit, who lives within us. That's the hope. Jesus Christ can remove that dark cloud that you feel that you have above you. But you have to go searching for the sun. God is the light of the world. You have to search for that light. That means he is the only one that lights up the darkness. You have to seek that out. You have to make an active intention to break that curse with Jesus Christ. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.